Please subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell icon. Free and open source software, FOSS, or free, libre open source software, FOSS, is software that is both free and open source. It is liberally licensed to grant users the right to use, copy, study, change, and improve its design through the availability of its source code. In the context of free and open source software, free refers to the freedom to copy and reuse the software, rather than to the price of the software. The Free Software Foundation, an organization that advocates the free software model, suggests that to understand the concept, one should think of free as in free speech, not as in free beer. FOSS is an inclusive term that covers both free software and open source software, which despite describing similar development models have differing cultures and philosophies. Free software focuses on the fundamental freedoms it gives to users, whereas open source software focuses on the perceived strengths of its peer-to-peer development model. Because open source software features open code, more programmers are able to view the code, create new functionality, and fix bugs. This follows the same natural way that science has developed over time. All FOSS licenses require that the software remain available to use, modify, and distribute at no cost. Most FOSS licenses also include kind of a lawyer's version of the golden rule, requiring that all software modifications, such as bug fixes and enhancements, must also be made available under the same license, with permission to use, modify, and distribute at no cost. This naturally creates continually growing software. These licenses are good at generating the trust that leads to large and sustainable communities. FOSS is increasingly the go-to standard for operating systems to user applications, for individuals to large enterprises. It helps reduce costs, avoid lock-in, increase productivity, and enhance security. With the best long-term investment protection, FOSS is the lowest risk choice for software systems. Let's talk about what does society needs. It needs information that is truly available to its citizens, for example, programs that people can read, fix, adapt, and improve, not just operate. But what software owners typically deliver is a black box that we can't study or change. Society needs to encourage the spirit of voluntary cooperation in its citizens. When software owners tell us that helping our neighbors in a natural way is piracy, they pollute our society's civic spirit. This is why we say that free software is a matter of freedom, not price. You deserve to be able to cooperate openly and freely with other people who use the software. You deserve to be able to learn how the software works and to make the students aware of it. You deserve to be able to hire your favorite programmer to fix it when it breaks. You deserve free software. The basic idea behind open source is when programmers can read, redistribute, and modify the source code for a piece of software, the software evolves. People improve it, people adapt it, and people fix bugs. The FOSS is focused on the technical values of making powerful, reliable software, and is more business-friendly. It also focuses on the moral issues of free software and on the practical advantages of the FOSS distributed development method. The popular myth surrounding free and open source software is that it is always free, that is, free of charge. To a certain degree, this is true. No true FOSS application charges a licensing fee for usage. Most FOSS distributions, Red Hat, SUSE, Debian, Fedora, Ubuntu, etc., can be obtained at no charge. On a licensing cost basis, FOSS applications are almost always cheaper than proprietary software. However, licensing costs are not the only costs of a software package or infrastructure. It is also necessary to consider personnel costs, hardware requirements, opportunity costs, support costs, and training costs. FOSS provides various advantages to tech society. The availability of the source code. The right of code modification, improvement, and redistribution. Large base of developers and users. Have various alternatives. Developing local capacity. Reducing imports and conserving of foreign exchange. Reducing copyright infringements. Enabling localization. Increasing competition. Reducing total cost of ownership. enhancing security, achieving vendor independence, increasing access to information, etc. Let's talk about the development philosophy of FOSS. In 1997, an essay named The Cathedral and the Bazaar by Eric Raymond suggests a model for developing open-source software known as the bazaar model. Raymond likens the development of software by traditional methodologies to building a cathedral, carefully crafted by individual wizards or small bands of mages working in splendid isolation. He suggests that all software should be developed using the bazaar style, which he described as a great babbling bazaar of differing agendas and approaches. In the traditional model of development, which he called the cathedral model, development takes place in a centralized way. Roles are clearly defined. Roles include people dedicated to designing, people responsible for managing the project, and people responsible for implementation. Traditional software engineering follows the cathedral model. The bazaar model, however, is different. In this model, roles are not clearly defined. Software developed using the bazaar model should exhibit various patterns such as, users should be treated as code developers. The users are treated like code developers and so they should have access to the source code of the software. Furthermore, users are encouraged to submit additions to the software, code fixes for the software, bug reports, documentation, etc. Having more code developers increases the rate at which the software evolves. If many users view the source code, they will eventually find all bugs and suggest how to fix them. Early releases. The first version of the software should be released as early as possible, which will increase one's chances of finding code developers early. Frequent integration. Code changes should be integrated as often as possible so as to avoid the overhead of fixing a large number of bugs at the end of the project life cycle. Several versions. There should be at least 2 versions of the software. There should be a buggier version with more features and a more stable version with fewer features. The buggy version is for users who want the immediate use of the latest features, and are willing to accept the risk of using code that is not yet thoroughly tested. The users can then act as co-developers, reporting bugs, and providing bug fixes. High modularization. The general structure of the software should be modular, allowing for parallel development on independent components. Dynamic decision-making structure. There is a need for a decision-making structure, whether formal or informal, that makes strategic decisions depending on changing user requirements and other factors. With this, I am concluding the first episode of the FOSS podcast. I will talk more about free software, open source software, proprietary software in episode 2. Till then, bye bye.